Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Agree to Disagree. Yep, we cover all the issues that, you're not supposed to talk about. Politics, religion, finance, all that jazz. Well, we talk about it here. Usually every Friday, but we've been doing this for the past 3.5 years, and I want to thank all of you who have been a part of the program over those past 3.5 years. We're broadcasting right down the road from the Sony corporate headquarters in Culver City, California, and we are going to bring in a cybersecurity expert today, a member of the TNAM crew who has been on previous episodes of our shows. His name is Aaron Bedra, and we're going to get to that in a minute because there's a lot of evidence that says North Korea has nothing to do with this, so my false flag alerts are tingling. My false flag alert is tingly. What was it? My spidey senses are tingling, Spider-Man would say. But anyway, we're going to get to that in a second. But real quick, if you haven't checked out our homepage, please do so. It's thenewamericanmedia.com. On the right-hand side of that page is our TNAM radio link. That's where you listen live. Underneath that is our YouTube channel, or actually our Facebook feed. You could also do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page, or you could do it right off of our homepage. Underneath that is our Twitter feed. You can follow us there, or you can look for us at American_Media_. That's American_Media_. And finally, special thanks to our 400,000 some views on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe and check that out. YouTube.com/The New American Media. So we're going to get right to it. Special guest, Aaron Bedra. Hello, buddy. Welcome back to the program.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Hey, you know what? This is a very last-minute thing, but it's breaking because, the United States government has determined that it was North Korea behind the hacks. Really? Really? Okay, well, let's examine what evidence we have for that opinion and against that opinion. Aaron, so let's get started. I've known you for years, but you work in this realm. Could you kind of reintroduce yourself to people and kind of tell them where you're coming from with your background in cybersecurity?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I spent the last, many years working in information security, more importantly in software security, but, in all realms of security in general. And, spent a lot of time looking at, especially foreign attackers, signatures, methods of attack, how people pull off attacks in general, right? There's always a fingerprint left behind. Right, and every country of origin has its own kind of way of doing things, and I've looked at a lot of that over the years, and especially right now what I'm doing is looking at how behavior plays into attacks, and isolating behavior into identifying attacks before they happen. So that's kind of where I'm coming from right now.
And you said different countries have different MOs. They have it's almost like if you watch like David Blatt, the new head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's been a European League basketball coach for a long time, so he has a certain way because he's used to European rules.
Of course.
You're saying each country of attackers tend to have different personalities behind them. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about it, right? Behavior is a very important part of how we exist, right? And every country of origin has their own way of behaving, their own way of speaking, especially actually speaking English. When you look at the English from the attack, right, if you look at the page that was displayed during the attack, it doesn't quite add up. If you look at some of the dialects that come out of Korea in general, right, if you think of all of Korea, doesn't quite match up with North Korea in dialect. And when I say dialect, I mean the way they speak English. There's always a little bit of brokenness, right? It's a second language, so you always, any second language anybody speaks will always be a little bit off, right? And when you think about that, you'll see patterns that don't quite match what has come out of North Korea in the past. All right, so there's a little bit of suspect information. So what I'm going on is information that I've gotten from the general public. So it's all out there right now. It's all available. And so there are two things that really don't match what we call the MO of North Korea, right? Which is the English used doesn't quite match the ESL patterns from North Korea. And there's one very big smoking gun here, which is it was the nationality of the computer involved seemed to be from traditional North Korea dialects, which actually doesn't. It's in a sense illegal in North Korea, right? It's not normally used from North Korea. So there's a few signs here that just point to unlikely North Korea activity. Now, that being said, it's very possible it could have come from North Korea, and we're just wrong here, right? There is enough information that doesn't add up here, and that's why it's suspect right now. If you look at many other people in the information security world, they're also asking questions, right? There's not enough information because attribution, which is the act of finding out who performed an attack, is very invasive. It takes time. It's hard, right? Some people say it's impossible unless you have all the data you need, and so it's hard to figure out really where something came from. And so attributing it to North Korea in such a short span of time, with the information they provided so far, or I say they, I mean the U.S. government has provided so far, seems suspect to me, right? It's not enough to add up to say, yes, definitely North Korea. So I'm not right now saying it's not North Korea. What I'm saying is there's not enough evidence right now that I would say, yes, absolutely, I would agree with them, it's North Korea, right? And of course, I don't have the information that they do. I'm a civilian. I don't have that military information or the information from the NSA or anybody else. But it's very important to remember that the information presented so far does not really indicate North Korean activity.
Well, some people have said, whether it's Supreme Court Justice John Roberts, when he kind of out of nowhere changes opinion on Obamacare, to John Boehner right now after the Republicans take Congress and pass this $1.1 trillion spending bill, even though he had all the capital in the world to only make a 30-day deal, and then they get to write a deal. You just kind of look at some of the moves that are being made politically, and there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of speculation, and at least putting the idea out there. Could it be that John Roberts and John Boehner have been blackmailed? Is it possible that they've been compromised by the NSA, by this administration, to act a certain way, or else we're going to release XYZ? Now, I suppose it would be very possible that other way worse emails could have already been sent back to Sony and said, hey, you guys want to drop this movie, or you want us to release these too? They gave them a taste of it, and that there's more sitting behind the scenes. Does that sound like something you would expect from a hack like this as a possibility?
Well, I mean, let me start with the first thing that's the most important is I'm not really into speculation, right? It doesn't make sense to me. It happens, right? There's plenty of things that might be the truth out there, right? That might be happening. We don't know. At the end of the day, none of us know. Could that happen? Of course, right? Like, in their own possibilities, of course, it's possible. But what is most important here is the nature of protecting the American people, right?
Right.
There was a threat to the American people, and it is the government's responsibility to protect the American people, right? So if in fact there was a legitimate threat on U.S. soil, there's always that possibility that the government was acting in their best interest to make sure nothing happened, right? We don't know. We don't have the information, so we can speculate all we want to. But at the end of the day, we have to very much consider, we have to think about the fact that the government's trying to protect us, right? So there's so much out there right now that says maybe contrary, right, to that statement. But we also have to give them a little bit of credit in the form of information that we don't have. I'm not, I'm a red-blooded American citizen. At the same time, I don't always believe what I hear. So I want to be skeptical, but at the same time, I want to also believe that whatever's happening right now is happening to protect us. In general.
We'd all like to think that, yes.
Of course.
If we believe in our head coach, we hope he's trying to win the game. And then
we hope he's trying to win the game.
Then
we
you
never
see,
know, right?
Then you see a Rolling Stone article about that the Cleveland Browns might have laid down to let Johnny Manziel get an ass whooping to kind of welcome him to the league. Of course, speculation.
It happens, right?
Hey, I've seen the movies.
That kind of thing happens.
Right. Now, but one of the things that people are talking about is that the constant specter of a false flag. And we've seen SOPA, we've seen PIPA, we've seen ACTA, we've seen CISPA, we've seen all these things try to come through and totally switch the internet. And one of the main reasons why that they've given is, we have to protect the intellectual property of studios and record companies. And yes, got to do that. With their thumb on their forefinger, giving you that not pointy gesture in front of a lectern. But now people are actually wondering about this. Could this have been a setup to kind of ram through some legislation and get the public behind them, as well as give us a chance to finally get into North Korea, which is what the people in power have been wanting to do for a long time, and kind of take out this regime, hence the plot of the interview.
So I won't say it's impossible, but what I really want to do is separate this from CISPA and all the other acts about intellectual property. Because I think they are distinct events. I think they don't match, right? CISPA is filled with lobbyists and people that have corporate and capitalist agendas, right? They're trying to make money. This is, I think, different, right? So I think the two ideas, the two events are mutually exclusive in general, right? Yes, sure, there might be agendas in general, but we have to think a little bit differently on the fact of, yes, of course Sony is in the MPAA and all of this, but I'm not sure, I mean, of course I don't have the information to say yes or no, that the MPAA is driving this from a psychological standpoint, right? There's zero evidence to prove that. So for me, I'm a person of evidence. I want facts. I want to know the information. And in fact, throughout my career, I've always been that way, right?
Yeah, and that's why we're going to you, and that's why we started.
Last time we talked, we even talked about Snowden, right? And this was right when it was released, right? So there was no real information. And of course, since then, a lot has been let out. I have quite a few friends that have, been involved in the movement to free the internet, but at the same time, there's more information been released, and so obviously we have a lot more information to go on, along that aspect. But I think time will tell here, and I think there's a few key things that have to happen in the next week or two that will give us a big grasp on what's really going on here.
Such as?
So, obviously, President Obama came out and said it was North Korea. He shamed Sony and said it was, Sony was responsible for producing this movie. We had everybody pointing the finger at North Korea. The news channels have all said North Korea.
Yeah, and it was also
when you look at the information, it doesn't make sense.
No, it was also weird that the president said, "Oh, I wish Sony would have called me," and that he also, when the Innocence of Muslims came out, that YouTube video that nobody saw, that YouTube movie, he went ahead and blamed people misusing. I believe it was the exact phrase. I'll have to look up, try to find the video to play it a little later when Ben Swan joins the program, but he said something along the lines of people misusing or abusing the First Amendment. And it's like, no, you can't do that. Whether it's Two Live Crew, whether it's Madonna burning a cross, or whether it's, Piss Christ, a piece of artwork that you don't like, that's the point of the First Amendment. You can say and do anything you want, and people don't have to like it. So I find it weird that when they're trying to cover up Benghazi and blame a video that nobody saw and really denounce the fact that this video even exists, and then it's a total 180 if it hurts North Korea. It just seems very inconveniently convenient.
Of course, yes. I mean, the timing is everything, right? And the facts don't add up right now. And so I'm waiting for more evidence, personally, right? For me to believe with North Korea, I can't believe it right now. There's not enough proof. And like I said, attribution is very hard, right? Attribution takes a lot of time. It takes ISP logs, it takes records from computers, it takes known attacker patterns, it takes lots of stuff. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, the cyber terrorist groups that are out there in the government are very talented and very capable and very good. We have some of the best on the planet doing this.
Of course.
And so to release the information that we have right now and associate it with North Korea doesn't make sense to me because they're better than that, right? Our government capabilities are better than that, and I know that. We all know that, right? We've seen the Snowden leaks, right? We know they're very, very capable of doing what they want to do. And so for me to see the evidence we have right now and think, yes, of course North Korea, doesn't add up to me.
What would you need to see? And we only have a minute or two left here, Aaron. And we'll have to bring you back as some of this comes out because, like you said, you want to see a little bit more evidence. What you've seen in some of the grammar, and you know the ESL English is a second language. Just some of the cadences, some of the words that are chosen, some of the it's not reading right. It's not feeling right. If your gut,
my gut feeling is that it's just not right yet. There's not enough information to say, yes, absolutely, it was North Korea.
Well, I found it weird when, after 9/11, nobody saw it coming enough to prepare it and stop it. However, within a couple hours, you had the Brady Bunch lineup on all the major news networks with, the Brady Bunch squares on the screen with every terrorist's name and where they came from. And, it's like, hang on a second here, really? You guys pieced this all together in 2 hours, but you didn't see it coming. All right, well, okay. All right.
Well, I certainly have no comment on 9/11. I was still in college then, and very unaware.
Yeah.
So
hey, you know what?
I have no real comments on then. But now there's just not enough information for me to say yes, I believe it was North Korea. Right? And now that might come out. It's very possible that happens. Right? It's just there isn't enough yet for me to say I'm on board. I'm with you. I believe that.
Okay. What would you need to
see? And
see?
There might not ever be, right?
Yeah, and there might not ever be. Or what would you like to see in the next week or two or the next month or so that would convince you more than what we've seen so far?
So when you think about attribution and the act of finding out who performed an attack, right? You want to trace it back to a source, and more importantly, you want to trace it back to behavior and intent, right? A behavior exhibited by a group will also drive an intent. All right, so you think about the whole situation, right? North Korea, if it really was them, right? I'm not saying it is, but if it was them, they intended to strike fear into Sony and the movie theaters to not show this movie in fear of a bigger thing happening, right? So there's an intent behind this, right? The intent.
Which is terrorism. Right, which would be threats of violence and blowing up theaters if you do. Absolutely.
And so I will never say that didn't happen, right? And North Korea, or at least we've heard as people, as citizens of the U.S., that North Korea had threatened violence. Now, we haven't seen North Korea claim the attack yet. Now, they endorsed it. They said, yes, this is amazing. We respect this. We endorse the attack. They didn't take claim of it, though, which is something that seems strange to me, is you think they would have claimed it. But if you throw that all aside, there's just not enough forensic evidence yet that we've seen of the people to say, yes, for sure, right? There are things that lead us to question, like I said before, which is the broken English doesn't quite add up. It seems a little bit too choppy, a little bit too forced. And the laptop of origin or the computer of origin has that Korean dialect that isn't really used in North Korea. So there's just a few things that don't make sense. Now, it could be false trails, right? It could be on purpose, right? People are very intelligent out there, and it's possible they are trying to hide their tracks by using these kind of false indicators. But we haven't seen enough evidence as a people yet to say, yes, absolutely. Now, if for some reason they release all the information and we say, yeah, Korean networks, we see Korean activity, we see the intent, we see a bunch of stuff behind this attack that says, yes, absolutely, we can pinpoint North Korea, then okay, cool, I'll believe that. But there's not enough information yet to see that.
Yeah, and the corporate headquarters being in Culver City, California, not too far from our studios here, but it's a Japanese company, and North Korea and Japan don't have wonderful relations. I guess how could anyone have good relations with North Korea? It's like that crazy uncle nobody wants coming around for Thanksgiving or weddings.
It's difficult.
Yeah, it's complicated.
And there's something very important here, which is I feel very bad for the executives at Sony, the people involved in the attack, right? This is not easy to deal with, right? Celebrities are very popular. They're in the news. They're big targets. It's really unfortunate that this happened to those people. regardless of status, it's very unfortunate when this happens.
Oh, yeah, and there's, what was it, 47,000, I'll have to double-check the number, but all those Social Security numbers floating out there, people that had nothing to do with it, you don't want to see that. Well, Aaron, I'll tell you what, man, we're up against the break here, but I'll tell you what, I really appreciate you jumping in the program for this developing news story, and I hope to get you back on in a little bit when there's some more information and we can really hash this out properly with a little bit more time, if that's all right.
Of course, that'd be great.
All right, Aaron, you have a great day, sir. Enjoy your time in wonderful Ohio. And we'll be right back on the other side. We're going to be talking with Ben Swan, now of Russia Today. Going to talk about Ferguson, the police military complex, and more on the other side.